Brethren, the presentation that I have taken from Solomon today is entitled Foundation Stone. The presentation gives an overview of the northeast corner and its long association with the laying of foundation stones throughout the centuries. At a certain point in the ceremony of initiation, the newly initiated candidate is placed in the northeast of the lodge to receive an address, which begins, "It is customary at the erection of all stately and superb edifices to lay the first or foundation stone at the northeast corner of the building." But why is the candidate in the northeast corner and not somewhere more convenient? It is said that the northeast point of the heavens was especially sacred to Hindus. According to ancient Egyptian mythology, the sun rose in this quarter on the day of its creation. Hence, over time, the northeast corner of the lodge acquired a particular sanctity and significance. In ancient Egypt, it was often the practice to offer a human sacrifice by entombing a workman in the northeast corner of a new building so that it could absorb his strength and spirit. We are told that the candidate is placed in the northeast corner of the lodge to represent the foundation stone and to symbolize the entered apprentice beginning his Masonic journey by turning from the darkness of ignorance to face the light of the new dawn in the east. An alternative explanation is that the north refers to the outer or profane world and the east the inner world of Freemasonry. Thus, the northeast symbolizes the double position of a newcomer, partly in the darkness of his former life and partly the light of his new life. There are many references in the Bible to foundation stones or cornerstones. I won't go through them in this presentation, but you can refer to them, brethren, in the PDF version that is also attached to the email that I've sent you. The symbolic importance of the foundation stone was well established by the time King Solomon's temple was built. Even then, stonemasons were highly skilled in maintaining a building's integrity by constructing corners and supports of carefully dressed stone. As these cornerstones guaranteed strength and stability, cornerstone became a colloquial term to describe a leader or an important part of something. The corner or foundation stone is normally the first stone to be set in the construction of a new building and provides a reference to which all other stones in the building will be set. To answer the question of why the candidate is positioned in the northeast of the lodge, we should turn to examine building customs and traditions in the early 18th century, when our original rituals were devised, and, in particular, whether it was traditional to lay foundation stones at the northeast corner. Before the advent of Freemasonry, a great deal of ritual was attached to the ceremony of laying a foundation stone. For example, one English record from 1338 shows that this was the case at the Vale Royal Abbey in the Delaware Forest, Cheshire. Afterwards, in the same 6th year, to wit on the Ides of August, that's the 13th of August 1277, the aforementioned Edward, that's King Edward I, the most illustrious King of England, in an assembly of all the great people of the kingdom, with his own hands put the first stone in place, where the great altar was to be built. Also Eleanor, the Queen of England, who was likewise present there, placed 2 stones, one for herself and the other for her son Alfonso, and that was Alfonso, Earl of Chester, in the same spot. Many old records show the corner or foundation stone as having been laid in the northeast corner of a building, but there is no evidence to support the theory that this influenced the people who devised our ritual, but it would be too much of a coincidence otherwise. Certainly, when Freemasonry was established, Freemasons were often called upon to perform foundation stone laying ceremonies for important buildings, and these were invariably performed at the northeast corner. The custom began to die out at the end of the First World War, although there is no evidence of what people who devised our ritual were thinking when they specified that the candidate was to be placed in the northeast corner of the lodge for important first-degree address. It is likely that this was a combination of old ecclesiastical and operative Masonic traditions. An interesting case of operative Masonry meeting speculative Masonry was on the occasion of the construction of the Church of St. Martin in the Fields in London. A report in Mist's Weekly Journal of the 26th of May 1772 reads, "As the first stone of the foundation of the Church of St. Martin's in the Fields underground was the same time laid on behalf of the command of His Majesty by the Bishop of Salisbury, Lord Almoner, so the first stone of the foundation at the same corner above ground, being 12 foot above the other, was laid with a great deal of ceremony by the Society of Freemasons, who on that occasion were very generous to the workmen." Another example occurred in 1870, when Albert Edward, Prince of Wales, later to become King Edward VII, attended by a considerable retinue of Freemasons, laid the foundation stone of Reading Grammar School in Berkshire, a fine example of Freemasonry being a positive and proud contributor to English society. On the 20th of May 1880, the same Prince of Wales, combining his roles of Duke of Cornwall and Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England, laid the foundation stone of Truro Cathedral in Cornwall, supported by the full Grand Lodge. As far as we know, this is the only time a cathedral's foundation stone has been laid in full Masonic splendour. In 1919, the approved form of procedure for laying of a foundation stone in the Book of Constitutions was removed. It was one of the few surviving links between us and our operative Mason predecessors. However, many Grand Lodges in America still have a ritual for Masonic cornerstone laying ceremonies, invariably performed after the lodge has been opened in the first degree. Dr. Albert Gallatin Mackey, 1807 to 1881, a prolific American Masonic writer, wrote, "In Freemasonry, which grew from the practice of masons, the initiate, or entered apprentice, is placed in the northeast corner of the lodge as a figurative foundation stone. This is intended to signify the unity of the north associated with darkness and the east associated with light." The Imperial Romans considered the north to be a place of darkness, and this symbolism appears to have been adopted by Freemasonry. The candidate is told that there are 3 lesser lights, which are situated in the east, south, and west. The north is not mentioned. In the true sense of the word, many who have received their 3 degrees in Freemasonry have never passed beyond the northeast corner. In the course of their initiation, they were represented a foundation stone. They must have received some Masonic light, but without further study and thought about the meanings behind our ceremonies and symbols, they will not be able to avail themselves of the true Masonic light. Neither wholehearted nor illuminated, they remain in a spiritual sense stuck in the northeast corner. If only a brother mentor could persuade them to pass from that position to enjoy the full privileges of Masonic life, he would confer on them and on the craft a great benefit. So, brethren, we should ask ourselves, have I moved from the northeast corner and from the foundation stone laid made an attempt to raise a superstructure perfect in its parts and honourable to the builder? That question, brethren, can only be answered by yourselves. Thank you for your very kind attention, brethren. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation.